Ron Lydian here. So this is going to be the first of, if you want to call it an instructional video. So anyway, this is about restringing a guitar with Floyd Rose locking tremolo. So I already did it. I did it yesterday, and I did start filming as I was doing it. But because of the usual faux pas with pieces of clip string flying all over the room and me having to run and pick it up, I decided, you know what, I'll just do the video post installation. So anyway, here are the tools that you're going to need. So you're going to need a, I guess that's about a, what is that? 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 inch Allen wrench, peg winder, little Phillips screwdriver, handy if you have it, a Swiss Army knife or a Leatherman, wire cutters, tape measure or just a ruler, lineal, and of course a tuner. And in this case, I have a little Diodario clip-on tuner, great little device. So one of the things I learned, now as you can see here at the headstock, you see the ball ends of the strings, which means I put them in reverse. I learned that actually from Mark Turian, who I guess you know is the singer of Bullet Boys. He's been the singer of Bullet Boys for whatever, I don't know, decades. But before he was a singer, he actually was a guitar player, and he played guitar in Rat. And that's actually how I met him, because he was actually the lead guitar player in Rat, along with Robin Crosby, before Warren DeMartini. And the story kind of goes that DeMartini wasn't really committed because he was really young at the time, and he wasn't really sure if he wanted to leave San Diego and move up to the Southern California area with the rest of the band. He eventually did, and the rest is history. But for a brief period, Mark Turian was the guitar player. Now, the way he tells the story is that he got kicked out because Crosby and Piercy were jealous because he was getting more attention at gigs. I don't know, whatever. But that's beside the point. So anyway, I knew Mark, and he also played in, what was the name of that band? Oh yeah, Cagney and the Dirty Rats. It was kind of a pop, dance, rock group. He was there for a while. And then he played with a local band called Morrill. And there's an interesting backstory about this band Morrill, because Morrill was the name of the singer, and it turned out that the drummer for this band was none other than Scott Travis, who went on to eventually join Racer X, and who has also been the drummer for Judas Priest for many years now already. Interesting piece of history, because I used to hang around with, used to hang out with Paul Gilbert. Used to go visit him at his apartment on Sycamore. I met him because I was a fan of Black Sheep, and after a gig I just went and introduced myself, and we kind of became friends. And that lasted up until the point he joined Mr. Big. And then apparently myself and quite a few other people that were so-called friends kind of got the door slammed in their face. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Who cares? I don't hold a grudge. Anyway, so Mark Turian, he was kind of a Van Halen-ish style, at least in the mold of Van Halen. And so if you want to say, well, there's kind of that mold, that would be Mark Turian at the time, George Lynch, and Warren DeMartini. Those guys were kind of the Van Halenites of the era. So anyway, one day, a friend of mine and we went up to Guitar Center on Sunset in Hollywood back in the 80s. That's when they were across the street, not the location where they're at now, where they actually been for many years, but directly across the street where I think it's either the Carvin's shop or it's the Sam Ash shop. It's one or the other, but it's directly across the street on Sunset. It's on the south side of the street. So anyway, we walk in there browsing. I think I wanted to get some strings or whatnot. And he was working there at the time, and he was working in the guitar department. He was, you know, basically back there on the bench restringing guitars. And so we started talking, blah, blah, blah. And he was setting up Floyd Rose. And I was like, man, you know, Floyd Rose is such a pain in the ass to set these up. And he's like, no, it's not. You just have to know what you're doing. I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, this is how I do it. So running the string reverse, so obviously the clamps would be removed. So you remove the clamps, run the string reverse down the length of the neck, and then you measure off approximately 1 inch. So, you know, that's, or I'll just get the tape measure. You know, I'm holding the phone as well, so it's a little tricky. But anyway, so let's say 1 inch. So then you measure it off. So you leave that much play, that much space. And then you clip the string here at the bridge. I clip them usually, let me use this so you can kind of see. I usually clip it right there in the center of the locking block. So maybe I have a little bit more than 1 inch, but it's okay. It gives me plenty of play. And then you just wind it. You lock it, you clamp it, wind it around the post. And as you can see, there aren't that many winds. It's just maybe a couple, 3 winds, which is actually what you want to do. You don't want to have all that excess string around the post, because fewer winds, easier it is to stretch out the strings, easier it is to get the thing to stay in tune. Also, another trick I learned, don't remove all the clamps at once. So what I do is I do 2. So I do E and A. And the reason I do that is because the adjacent string is still in tune, right? So it's easier to tune up. So, you know, I double check it with the tuner, and then I tune it up, and then I lock it, not totally clamp it down, but just lock it a little bit so the strings stay in place. And then I go to the adjacent strings, so on and so forth, until I've done the whole thing. Also, once you got that done, then you clamp it down, right? And then you just whammy, whammy, pull, whammy, whammy, pull, whammy, pull. You know, I can't do it because I'm holding the phone, but you know, when you're holding down the tremolo bar, just press it all the way against the body, and then just take your other hand and just pull the strings back and forth. You can pull them up, not too hard, but back and forth, whatever, so on and so forth. Also, safety tips. When I'm removing the strings, what I typically do is I clip in the middle and then remove it here at the bridge. And then gently take this out from under this guide bar, and then gently unwind it. Okay, in this case, there's no spiky end, but when I put these strings on, the factory strings are on there's a spiky end. They did a pretty good job of bending it, but there was still a spiky end. And here's a little story about that. And so it's very, very, very important. Never, ever say, oh, okay, so say a string breaks. So you have a string break. It can happen. String breaks, say you're A. This happened to me back in whatever, early mid 80s. It was a standard tremolo. A broke right here at the saddle. I'm thinking there was either a burr that was grinding in as I used the bar and as I was bending and doing vibrato, or maybe the saddle was too high. Whatever the case may be. So it broke right there. And then the hexagonal piece was sticking out. So instead of following proper safety practices and taking my wire cutters, which were actually right beside me at the time, and clipping it gently and then gently removing it, I just pulled it and jerked it. Well, guess what? That hexagonal core went right through my 3rd finger on my right hand, literally impaled my finger. I don't know, you might even be able to see the mark right there. And so I was sitting here with my impaled finger, like, oh. So then I had to compose myself, and I pulled. I mean, it was that much string that went through my finger, man. I'm not joking. So I pulled it out. Ironically, it didn't hurt, and there was only a little bit of blood. So I immediately went to the bathroom, washed it, and disinfected it with hydrogen peroxide. But guess what? You know how that is. When you get stuck by a piece of metal, it's off to emergency. So I hopped in the car, went to emergency, and got a tetanus shot. Ha ha ha. Joke's on me. So never, never, never jerk or pull the strings. Never. Always gently remove them. Gently. If it's broken, clip it. Take the long piece away. Dispose of that first. And then gently remove the broken spiky piece. Take my word for it, dude. So anyway. So once you've done that, then you clamp it down, and then I would suggest retuning it. And also another tip. So you can see the fine tuners back here. Before you clamp it and totally tune it, make sure they're at about the halfway point, because you want to have enough play so if the string goes sharp or if it goes flat, that you can fine tune it and you still have room. You know, you have some playing room there, as the Germans say, Spielraum. You have a little room to play, right? And then, as you can see, when it's done that way, the bridge is still parallel with the ground, with the body, as it should be. You don't want it sticking up like that. That's god awful. And you don't want it like that, because that means, your springs in the body, they're too tight. And then it's off. Okay, then you got to go to the shop, and then you're spending, I don't know, whatever, 40, 50, 60 bucks. And you don't want to have to do that unless you want to spend 40, 50, 60 bucks. I personally don't. That's why I prefer to do it myself. And then also, you want to check your pickup height. These are pretty much perfect. They came that way from factory, so I really didn't have to adjust them. Typically, what I used to do, I would raise the pickups as high as they could possibly be. And of course, I would get a lot more harmonic distortion, a lot more gain, and be a lot louder, but it's actually not necessary. I mean, this is a 59. This is an SH4 JB. Jeff Beck, may he rest in peace. Yeah, man, don't need to do that. So in this case, because this is a Charvel, man. So this is top of the line. I think this is the most expensive guitar I've ever bought. As a matter of fact, this guitar cost me 900 and change in euros. And even though I think the dollar's, it's almost 1-to-1 with the euro. So dude, there's almost $1,000 right here. So one can expect for that kind of money that the guitar should be in pretty great shape when you get it home. And it was. I mean, it's fantastic. So, okay, now here comes the shameless plug. And I'm plugging this not because I'm being paid for it. I'm plugging this because, as far as I'm concerned, these are some of the best guitar strings I've ever used. These are Elixir Nano Web 9-42. So here's the backstory about guitar strings. So when I first started playing, I used pretty much every kind of string you can imagine. But when I first started playing, Ernie balls, that was kind of my string of choice. They weren't that expensive. They sounded pretty good. They stayed in tune pretty well for the guitars that I was playing back then. And yeah, so I was an Ernie ball guy for years. But then suddenly they started breaking, and it didn't matter what guitar I was using. I was at a pretty important gig playing with Adween David Brown, and I had a Gibson The Paul, and I had Ernie Balls on there, and yeah, D-pop, right in the middle of a solo. I'm like, dude, this isn't cool. So I ended up switching to another guitar, and turned out that guitar had a set of Diodarios on it. Because for whatever reason, I bought a set of Diodarios, or somebody gave me a set. I don't know, but it had Diodarios on it, and I was doing all this crazy bar work and blah 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 and so on and so forth. I was like, okay, no problems. So then I switched to Diodario XLs, and I used Diodario XLs, dude, forever. Um, let's see, I've been living in Germany for going on 21 years, and I was still using Diodario XLs pretty much, the whole time I was playing here. Um, I officially stopped playing professionally here, let's say in 2010, because it just wasn't happening here. The last active band project that I was in, it was a Motorhead tribute called Moto Rock. But the guy, the bass player, lead singer, man, he just didn't know. He had no clue, man. It was kind of like amateur hour because he was entering the band in all kinds of talent show contests and this and that. And I don't know, maybe it's because he grew up behind the wall and he had no sense of, okay, this is business, but whatever. So that was pretty much the last professional gig I did, um, and still using Diodarios, right? Oh, but there is a little interim break because the late 90s, that's when I actually finally started getting some artist deals. So I had an artist deal with EMG. I probably mentioned that in a previous clip. So it was EMG pickups. I had an artist deal with SIT strings, stay in tune strings, which are really cool strings. I still like them, but they're basically impossible to get over here. So, and because I moved over here, that kind of canceled out my artist deal because they were like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing over there, Ron? I was like, well, kind of nothing. They were like, yeah, well, we kind of need you to be doing something to maintain this. So I was like, okay, I understand. So that was pretty much the end of that. Um, and let's see, and another artist deal I had was Line Six, and the same thing happened. I contacted them. I said, yeah, I'm over here in Germany. Like, well, what are you doing? I was like, well, kind of nothing. They say, well, man, then we kind of have to leave you. So that's how it is. Hey, man, that's business. You know, that's the price of doing business. I understand. No problem. So in any event, so then I was like, all right, well, then I'll just go on back to the Diodarios because I couldn't find the SIT strings. All the while, hanging there were elixirs, and it just never occurred to me. Plus, I looked at the price, and back then I really didn't have the kind of money to spend on those strings. But in hindsight, all my guitars that I own now, I think except for one, I think the G&L, I think that's the only guitar that's not strung with elixirs. I think that guitar still has a set of Diodario XLs on it. Every other guitar I have, I think I've got like 7, 8 guitars now. They all have elixirs, elixir nano webs. Um, and the advantage is, yeah, they are more expensive. You're going to spend at least 14, 15, maybe 16 bucks a pop, because that's how much they cost over here, 14, 15, 16 euro, depending on what shop you go to. Fortunately for me, my one and pretty much only shop that I get anything from here, and this is a plug for them. I'm not getting paid, but I'm plugging them because they're so cool. That's the American Guitar Shop on Goethestrasse in Berlin, Charlottenburg, the district of Charlottenburg. They absolutely cool. The owner, Torsten, he's totally cool. Um, Great service, great products. If they don't have it in stock, they'll order it. As a matter of fact, that's where this guitar came from because I could have ordered it online. And he's like, well, you know what? If you want to order something online, we can get it for you. I'm like, all right. And I go over there and I pick it up and I don't have to worry about, the idiot, I don't know, UPS guy smashing the guitar like when, or the DPD guy smashing the guitar like when I ordered a Dean once. No, man. So now, if I can order something through them, that's so yeah, man. So yeah, I am plugging them. American Guitar Shop, Goethestrasse, Berlin, Germany, in the district of Charlottenburg. If you happen to be in Berlin and you're a musician, if you're a guitar player or a bass player, stop by, man, and tell them Ron Lydian sent you. Absolutely cool. On one side of the street, they have an acoustic shop. with a workshop, with a tech bench, workbench, and on the other side is electric. And they also make customs. They also do custom builds. So yeah, if you're on tour and you need strings or whatever it is, stop by American Guitar Shop, Berlin, Germany, on Goethestrasse. So anyway, that's enough of my plug. So I started getting new guitars, right? Because I came into some money. Some money was owed to me, and the money finally got paid. And so I'm like, all right, I got some cash now. Let me try some of these elixirs. And I was talking to one of the, one of the sales guys at American Guitar Shop, and he's like, yeah, Ron, when you put this set of strings on, he's like, you probably won't have to change it for another 6 months. I was like, oh, that's great. Therefore, they cost a little bit more, yes, but in the long run, you're actually saving money. Because, if you min-max it, look, if you're buying whatever strings for, I don't know, whatever, $5, $6, $7, and then you're playing a lot and they wear out, well, then you're going back and buying another set and then buying another set. Whereas this set of Elixir Nano Webs, all the guitars that I have where these strings are installed, no rust, no oxidation, and that goes for the plain strings too. I mean, okay, the real advantage, the real joy, the real just amazingness is the wound strings. Smooth as silk, man. I mean, I've been a fast fret user forever, even before I think they got bought by Dunlop, and had to, man, because from the perspiration and the oxidation, yeah, the strings, it was like playing on razor wire. These, I don't even have to do that. I can just basically take a bandana and just wipe it, and it's like they're fresh and new, like they've been freshly installed. Beautiful. So if you haven't tried them, and like I said, I'm not being paid for this. Elixir, do they even know me? No. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I follow them, but I don't know if they're following me. But I don't really care, because I'm interested in the product and the product's performance. So, I'm not a gear whore. I know, and I'm just going to be honest with you, man. If you're watching this, you know what I'm talking about. There's guys out there, and this isn't new. This is even back pre-internet, man. They're gear whores. And why do I call them gear whores? Because they'll promote whatever product so long as they're getting it free, whether they care about the product or not. See, I'm not being paid. So what you're going to get from me is honesty. You're going to get the truth. I'm going to tell you whether this thing is good or not, because they're not paying me to say otherwise. So I can say, you know what, it's shit. Don't buy it. Or if you want to buy it, there's other ways to waste your money. I'm not obligated. I owe nobody nothing. So what you get from me is the truth, 100%. And what I can say, 100%, after going on 41 years of playing professionally, Elixir guitar strings are the shit. Now, I haven't tried OptiWeb. That's the other line. I've only used NanoWeb, but OptiWeb, they're supposed to be good too. But what I wanted longevity, because, dude, just as I explained the whole purpose of this clip about changing strings on a Floyd Rose, if I don't have to do it that often, I'm happy not to. All right, so anyway, man, that's it. So this has been a little short clip. Okay, maybe not so short, but anyway, yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope you dig it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give a like. Even better, I'd love it if you would subscribe. And if you subscribe, I would love it if you would click the notification bell so you're notified immediately when I post new content. Also, it would be great if you would share, if you know somebody who's interested in straightforward, honest gear reviews, um, great historical anecdotes of my experience being a black rocker, hard rocker, heavy metal, witnessing the birth of Metallica, Slayer, and all of that, the birth of Metal Blade Records. If you want to hear stuff like that, fun play-alongs. I'll be doing some of those coming up in the immediate future. Fun play-alongs with some of my favorite anime openings, etc. and so forth. So if you know somebody who you think would be into that and enjoy watching it, please share the wealth. All right, man. Ron Lydian, out.